Hey everybody, welcome to the Truth Cafe podcast. Open your Bible and grab some coffee as we serve up truth for your questions. You can listen while you are on your way, while exercising, or in the comfort of your home. Enjoy!
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at the Truth Cafe today. I am sitting with Pastor H and Don Stedge with us yet again.
Yay!
Happy to have you here, Don. And we introduced him in a previous episode, so you know Don now. Most of you probably do know Don already, but even if you're just a listener on the podcast, you are now familiar with Don, and we're happy to have him with us. We're here with another not so lightning round. Maybe that's what we'll call these, because we thought we were going to work through them quickly. They're not so lightning-y and quick, but we are, working through them still.
It was so good.
It was really good. Yeah, it was great. So last time we talked about cursing. This time we are talking about listening to secular music. Ooh yeah.
Play that funky music, white boy.
That's right. So, all right, guys, hit me with some verses that say secular music is bad.
You shall not turn on your radio while driving. First Hasiel 3:21.
Thou shalt not play AC/DC.
Or Metallica. Yeah.
There's actually no Bible verse that says do not hear any music.
That's right. It's true. And I think we kind of have to just openly say we can't say that listening to secular music is inherently a sin.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a difference, and I just want to clarify. There's a difference between calling it sin and then calling it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And so we can't say that is sinful.
Right. There's no explicit prohibition against hearing songs, listening to songs that are not, and when we say secular, meaning non-religious or non-Christian or non-worship oriented, right? So for a non-religious purpose, and I say religious is not even a great term, for a non-Christian purpose, right? And there's some folks that feel very strongly you have to only listen to Christian music, only listen to worship music even. So there's some people feel very strongly about that, and that is a personal conviction. And we say that because there is no prohibition explicitly on not listening to Christian music. However, I can say very strongly that whether or not a song is a good idea to listen to depends on its content. And there are things in songs that should not be invited or listened to, at least on the regular, at least something that you're listening to for enjoyment, to put into your inner man, your soul, your heart. The content of some of those songs is not right, not good, not something edifying to your life. And so I think that's really where this becomes a question of what do we need to explore it a little bit. What's the content of the song? Yeah. Right.
And for the most part, most secular music, most of them are love songs.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, a love song. Oh, I saw her. She saw, he saw me, whatever. I love her and whatnot. Okay. Or they're laments. Oh, my heart's broken.
Sure.
Somebody passed away. She dumped me. I lost her, and that's one of the Psalms.
That's a great point.
A lot of them are laments.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are laments.
The Bible has its own love song.
Yeah, the Song of Solomon.
That's right.
The Song of Song or Song of
Song of Solomon. Yep. It's a whole love song, the whole book.
Let me tell you something. I just, because it's been a while, I looked at that. They would not allow that on it's very explicit.
Yeah. I mean, even the rabbis, before I just learned this, apparently the rabbis wouldn't let people read it unless they were married or 30 years old.
Really?
Yeah. Because they knew, the guy who was commenting on this said, this was the book that Hebrew boys would want to read under the covers at night. Oh.
That was a version of Playboy,
Because it's strong, explicit, erotic, romantic. It's a love song.
Yeah. Between
a husband and a wife.
A husband and a wife, yeah.
Right.
And, I forgot. Grab that thought. It just went out. Yeah.
Yeah. But you were telling us all about lament in the Psalms.
Yeah, lament. The laments. So Song of Solomon is like the biblical version of Brick House. You remember that song? She's a brick house.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff there is
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some songs, and you got to be careful. A lot of people don't listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
They like the music.
Yep.
And I grew up in the '60s and '70s, which is the best music ever. The stuff now, I feel sorry for kids now because the stuff now is horrible, horrible. But but there's songs there that are you worshiping the devil? Are you talking about violence? Are you talking about trying to get women to bed?
Right,
that kind of thing. But there's some songs that were like, for instance, here's one I detest. It's called "Angel in the Morning." It was from the '60s.
Just call me Angel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the lyrics? It's about a woman whose self-esteem is so low, she's willing to sleep with a guy that night, knowing she may never see him again.
Wow.
Okay, here's some of the lyrics. There'll be no strings to bind your hearts, your hands. Not if my love can't bind your heart, and there's no need to take a stand, for it was I who chose to start. So I see no need to take me home. I'm old enough to face the dawn. Just call me angel and touch my cheek. May the sun's light be dim, and it won't matter anyhow. If morning's echo says we've sinned, well, it's what I wanted now.
Wow.
And if we're so
it's a pretty sounding song.
it's beautiful. Oh, but that's what people listen to.
But it's a bad
it's
content.
like, okay, so I'd say to parents, is this the philosophy you want your daughters to have?
Right.
Just sleep. I feel bad, so I'm going to sleep with a guy. They don't talk about aspects of pregnancy, venereal disease.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, and that's the lie.
Or just the no strings attached sexual encounter.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, first of all, I think there's a lot of myth to that anyway.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's a big lie from Satan.
But just the idea that that's the kind of sexual encounter that ought to happen is so sad. I mean, it's demeaning to what God's design for sex is, but for that individual to have a fulfilling relational experience would be God's intention through marriage. But for them to settle, it makes me so sad. They're underselling their identity, what God would have for them, and it's just like the wrong message entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Another one was Stephen Stills. Love the one you're with. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. Oh, okay. So if you're out of town, you want your wife to have that philosophy? Well, the neighbor came by, and you weren't around, or
I was with
vice
them.
versa. So they sound great. People go, I love this song, and it's garbage.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So, although there's no specific commandment or instruction in the Bible to say you cannot hear or listen to secular music, there are particular commandments and there are particular instructions about checking and understanding what we are putting in our mind.
Absolutely.
Right? Like Philippians 4:8. It does says that everything, whatever that is true, whatever is that is noble, whatever there is right, whatever there is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever there is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
Yes, it's so true. And you know what? Jesus, he talks about the state of the heart being what brings action and words and action out of us. And we talked about this in the last episode, lightning round, not so lightning round episode, where he said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And he actually also says, out of the treasure that a man puts in his heart, right? Whatever you treasure, whatever you value, and whatever you're making deposits of into your heart is what's going to come out, right? And so if you're constantly putting in, I mentioned Metallica. I liked Metallica when I was a kid. There was something about it, the music, there was certain, and as I got older and as I got more mature in the Lord, I just started to sense, man, something is really dark here. Like, and the lyrics weren't openly sexual or even violent. Some songs were, but more often they were just very mysterious and cryptic. But the longer you listen to it, you say, something's really odd here. Something's dark here. And there are sometimes spiritual forces or entities that have inspired those songs or are attached to those songs. And the more I found myself pouring that into my ears and my heart and my mind, surrounding myself, filling my life with those things, the less peace I had, the less confidence I had, the less joy, the more depressed I felt. And it was like, man, I'm the reason I'm making, when you pull out, make an extraction from the bank, right? When you pull something out, it's got to be there for you to pull it out. And what I was making deposits of was those kinds of songs. And what I was getting out was not the fruit and the result that I wanted.
Yeah. And if you see their videos and stuff, there's a lot of pagan and satanic imagery and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I never had access to the videos as a kid.
Yeah.
But I even just without the imagery in the song, just in the music, something you could tell something. What I was making a withdrawal from in my life was what I was putting in, and what I was putting in was something dark, right? So, what Jesus said is absolutely true, right? By merit of him being Jesus, but also because it's proven to be true. You will sense that out of the abundance of the heart and what you've poured into your life, that's what's naturally going to become fruit and come out. That's the withdrawal you're going to make. So, what is the song pouring into your life?
Right.
What, and not just the lyrics and the content, that's part of it, but also what is the spiritual attitude behind it? Is it apathy? Is it depression? Is it fear? Is it, you're also pouring that into your spirit, into your heart. And that's eventually it will make a withdrawal. Something's going to come out.
Yeah. Music is so powerful.
Yeah.
Right. Music is God is the maker, the inventor.
Yes.
Of music, right? And I believe that it was given to us as a means to connect with what's subjective, what's spiritual, what's emotional, and so the secular music. Right, even though it may not be inherently wrong, inherently sinful, it does create that connection to what's spiritual, what's emotional.
Yeah.
And so, I believe that God created music. And there's a passage, when it talks about Satan, right, being created with instruments all over his body, and it was a way to praise and worship, right?
Yeah.
The one who's worthy, God. But secular music now having that same connection, when you add sex and drugs and materialistic richness and all that, all the worldly stuff, then it creates that connection to those things, right? And so while you're pouring that into, when you're listening in the car, when you're singing to those songs, even though like Don says, you don't even know what it says, but you're singing your lungs out to the same song. You're actually allowing those principles and those thoughts to be, you're connecting those thoughts to you. And so, like you said, now later down the road, right? Like what comes out of your mouth, what comes out of your mind, like having an idea of adultery. Where is this coming from? Well, you've been listening to bachata music, saying that you can, there's a song that says, "We will be so happy, the four of us together."
The four of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a bachata music, so so you dance to it, right? And it's like, and you're singing this out loud, like. What?
Yeah.
So, and then you wonder, why am I having this temptation of my neighbor or my coworker or whatever? Well, you're allowing all these thoughts. You're connecting your emotions and your spirit to these principles that are not godly, these principles that are unbiblical.
Right.
And now you wonder, why am I being tempted? Well, you are allowing all these things to come into your heart, into your mind. Yeah. And so the Bible says everything that is, praiseworthy. Yeah. Those are the things that should be ruling your heart, your mind, your mouth, and not all the other crap that sometimes you hear.
Yep. It's a good word for it. Crap. I like that.
There was a few more songs from like the late 60s, early 70s, like Me and Mrs. Jones. Me and Mrs. Jones, we got a thing going on. Yeah. And it's about adultery. And another one was If Loving You Was Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. Same thing. Right. And there's the one by Whitney Houston, about, it's all about adultery and glorifying it. Right. And whatnot. Right. Yeah. And so that's Satan's lie, that they see this is so romantic, this is so wonderful, and then you're going to go there and it's going to happen, and it's a big disappointment. It's a big letdown.
And so deceiving is the enemy.
Yeah.
That he romanticizes.
Yeah.
The adultery,
so
right?
Yeah.
It's so romantic to have an adventure, so romantic to have the person that is forbidden, right? Because you're married, because you have, and you have your spouse, but and looking at that other guy or looking at that other girl, that's so romantic, and that's how those principles starts ingraining in your heart and in your mind,
right?
And then later down the road, you're feeling tempted, and so.
The ideation is linked to the indulgence of the song,
right?
Yeah,
and
it
so
plants that thought.
Why would you consciously put yourself into that position?
Right. It shouldn't be our entertainment.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think because I have listened to songs like that. I've listened to songs like that both for analyzation, right? Trying to understand and trying to learn and say, what is this person saying and what does our culture think that this song is so wildly popular, right? People just love this song. And they might even say, I love the beat. And maybe it's just the beat or the music, but the message is having an impact on the tail end. Other times it's that there's something that really connects and resonates with the lyrics. And then you say, well, that tells me something about our culture that I need to understand in order to reach them. And there's other times that I've listened to songs that were entertaining and said, okay, maybe I need to just chill on that song now because maybe it's not the best message, even if it's fun to hear. And there's some parts of that, right? Like some songs, I heard one pastor who has had mixed, he has a mixed review in my view, but he does say some good things. I liked this. He said, you can either receive, reject, or redeem. And he was talking, you can do that with a whole lot of things. In other words, some stuff by merit is receivable. It's in alignment with Christian principles. And you could say, hey, you know what? We could do this. We could engage in this. It's not a bad thing. There's other things that you would have to reject it by merit of its nature. It's you just say, this is opposite Christian faith and my walk with the Lord. It just has no place. I have to reject it. And there's other things that you can redeem, right? There's other songs, and I'm applying this to songs, but this goes for all kinds of practices. There's other things that you say, well, look, maybe this isn't inherently wrong, but it also has some issues. Maybe I could change the purpose of it. And so I'll give you a quick example historically. When it comes to Christmas, this is a weird thing to bring in on music, but it's kind of the same idea. Historically speaking, we know that Jesus wasn't born at Christmas. December 25th is really not the time, probably historically.
That's going to be another podcast.
That's another podcast episode. But the reason it became that was not because of some kind of manipulation by a corrupt church. That was that day being set to celebrate the birth of Jesus was not because we were corrupted by some other influence. It's because Christians had Saturnalia off, right? They had that day off from their work responsibilities and governmental responsibilities. That was a holiday already in their culture, in many cultures in that area. So they took that time and said, this is the time we're going to set aside to remember Jesus' birth. So historically, the evidence seemed to suggest that it wasn't a corruption. It was just Christians saying, this is a pagan day, but we're going to redeem it because this is the time we've been given off. This is our opportunity. So some of the historical evidence suggests that it was a well-meaning redemption of the time as opposed to a corrupt influence. So again, that's a redeem, right? It wasn't a receive. It wasn't a reject. It was a redeem. It was, we're going to turn this around and give God glory for it and use it for his purposes. So you can do the same thing with some songs, not all songs. When you're talking about sexually graphic, taking multiple women to bed, it becomes very difficult, I think, to redeem that, right? That's a reject. That's most of the time going to be a reject. There might be some romantic songs that might lean into the suggestive, but you could sing it to your wife in the bedroom, right? That might be an appropriate way. So that becomes now potentially a redeem. So you have to use wisdom and discern these things and say, what do I do with this particular song? The main thing is what you're putting in is going to come out.
Right.
Sometimes it's a direct content, you say that content doesn't belong, right? Other times there's something spiritual happening. There's a spiritual element here that I can't express based on the content, but there's something spiritual present. It's sadness or depression, heaviness, fear in the attitude behind it. And it may be that there's a demonic entity attached to it. Maybe not. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But there's a spiritual element that's coming in, that's being deposited in, that we also have to watch out for. But there's some things that are cultural songs. There's a cultural song in the New Testament. Jesus in Matthew 11, he talks about children calling out to each other. This was a song that children played to in the New Testament. We played the pipe for you, you didn't dance. We sang a dirge, you didn't mourn. This was a child's game, and there was a song they would sing to each other in the marketplace. So Jesus even used this as a teaching point. It wasn't a worship song, right? Right? So that is a cultural song. It'd be akin to us, some of the kids playing, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. It's like a little song, and they're playing a game. Are we going to say no, that's bad? And some Christian environments are sort of like that. Like, hey, that's not a worship song.
So therefore, according you couldn't sing "Happy Birthday" to somebody.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
a secular song.
We've sung that here in church.
Yeah.
Yes, we're sinners here in Solid Rock for singing "Happy Birthday."
Star Spangled Banner.
Right.
So you have to really be conscious of what we're putting into our inner man because it will affect us.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people, like you said, they don't listen to the lyrics. Sometimes, you can't even understand the lyrics.
Sure.
You go back. I hear these songs that I grew up in the '60s, and I go, "Oh, that's what they were saying."
Yeah.
Like Creedence Clearwater, they had "Bad Moon on the Rise," and it always sounds like there's a bathroom on the right, because the way he talked.
So
but subliminally, that gets into your brain.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of the reasons why we keep encouraging everybody to read the Bible, read the Word. Like, engulf yourself in the Word, because that's what you're putting in.
Right.
It's compared to what you're putting in when you're on the the road listening to anything and just anything. And I want to encourage everybody, when possible, put on worship music.
Yeah.
Like, that should be kind of like your goal, something that glorifies God.
Yeah.
But if you're on the road and you want to put some radio, just be conscious of what you're listening to.
Exactly.
Right? You can always turn the channel.
There's usually,
if it's a love song, if it's like the Beatles, "She Loves You," yeah. What's wrong? Okay, but if then you have Metallica or something like that, "Highway to Hell,"
right?
There's some Beatles songs I don't care for either.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
John Lennon, maybe I should say.
Oh no, John Lennon.
Yeah, he said, "Imagine all the people."
Yeah,
and he talks about just destroying all faith and religions.
Yeah.
Right. So what about dancing now?
Okay.
You make me feel like dancing.
What are we at?
We're good. We're
okay.
good.
So let's talk about dancing, because they sort of go together a little bit. Same idea. We don't. There's no prohibition on dancing in the Bible. In fact, there's some pro dancing verses, and I definitely have been in environments where dancing was not encouraged or prohibited even. But there was an allowance for dance in worship, right? So Psalm 149:3 says, "Let them praise his name with dancing." So there you go. It goes on to make music to him with timbrel and harp. But it's in worship. Let them praise him with dancing. So dancing can be worship. So immediately we know right away the scripture does not forbid dancing. Anybody who has that position, it's untenable from the scriptures.
Right.
So I would also go as far to say is that there's some things in Scripture that suggest dancing is not purely worship.
Right.
The primary purpose of it, I think, makes sense that it should be worship. I mean, we were created for worship. Our design was for relationship and honor to the Lord. So everything good ultimately needs to be given back to God in glory and in worship. So the root of everything and the end goal, the ultimate purpose of everything is worship. So
glorify God.
So dance itself, again, its main thing, its main goal and identity as an act should be worship.
And in the New Testament, dancing is only mentioned once.
Hit us with it, Don.
It's Luke 15:25. The
Yes,
the prodigal son.
Oh,
And then he comes back, and it says, "Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing," because they were celebrating the return of the son.
Hey, that's great. They were dancing, celebrating. There is one other dance, but I'm going to mention it in a second. But yeah, you're right. That's right. So the New Testament talks about it as celebratory.
Yeah, and the word there is choros, It means a band of dancers or singers, circular dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a celebration.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily inherently worship in that moment.
Yeah.
As an act of, piety. I'm going to worship God with this group dance. It was saying, look what happened. He's home. He's alive. He was dead. So, and there's another one. Ecclesiastes 3:4 says there's a time to weep, time to laugh, time to mourn, and a time to dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not just inherent. Only use it if it's in church. That's not exactly true either, right? It can be appropriate outside of the worship setting as a celebration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of you might be thinking, why is this even a question? Like what are you talking about? Why was this? Who would ask this? Especially those who maybe are not from a church, didn't grow up in a church environment, who grew up with dancing, and experienced that. They might be saying, what are they talking about? The reason this is a question is because dancing has sort of gotten entangled with other issues. And the primary one, I would say this is the main one, although there are probably arguably other ones. But the main one is that dancing has gotten intertwined with sensuality, seduction, sexuality. And again, this can become a non-issue if you're talking about a husband and a wife in a private setting and they want to dance sexually. I don't care. Like, who cares? The New Testament is saying that their marriage bed is undefiled, right? So this would not be inappropriate anymore. There's a time and a place.
Actually, I would encourage for every marriage to do so. Yeah.
Woo! And the crowd of men goes wild.
Because we always tend to attack the sensuality outside marriage, right? And don't do that. If it's not your
that
wife,
creates
right?
issues,
right?
Yeah.
But then we miss on encouraging. Do it when you're married.
Yeah.
Do it in your marriage. Do it in the sanctity of your...
We spend so much time hammering into our young believers.
Right.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Maybe even from the beginning, we should say you should do it later.
Yeah, when you're married.
Tell them that up front,
you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, and the message of Scripture is don't awaken love before it's time. It's not don't do that. And somehow the church has really overemphasized it to that point. It should be, that's good. But we're going to read Song of Solomon to you when you're married or 30. Right?
Or you can read it yourself.
Well, as a matter of fact, there was a pastor who was a historian, and he said, we have this idea of the Puritans, that they were like, all stoic and everything, but sex outside of marriage is strictly forbidden. But in marriage, these guys were lusty.
Wow, I didn't know that about them.
They were really, have at it,
wow,
stuff like that. Yeah, within marriage.
I love it. That's so biblical. Let's just in fact, we're just gonna take a Sunday and play this podcast episode.
Yeah,
for everybody.
No, I got to go back to the language. Going back to and marriage. Okay, is it okay to talk dirty to your wife?
Are you asking, or are you going to say something?
No, I'm asking. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to, first of all, you don't want to disrespect or demean anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk dirty and give an example here, but there's ways of doing that are demeaning and belittling and even aggressive. That would be negative.
Yeah.
But I think there are also other forms of that might be okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because in the context of marriage, privacy.
I think that you can. I think that you can speak sensuality into your marriage.
Yes.
Well, that's what that's what I mean. I don't be using the F-bomb, and all that
right.
stuff
I think
like that.
because a lot of people may confuse that because that's what
oh baby,
right?
Yeah.
Or using terms that are diminished to to the woman, and that's I don't think that's biblical or that's Christian or that's godly.
Right, because if you're saying to your wife, and you feel, this makes us feel aroused or something, and you say, you're a slut.
Right.
That's very demeaning. Like you're belittling your wife and calling her something that's not holy, right?
And again, that's portraying something that is deeper in your heart,
right?
Than that you got to bring before the Lord.
Use the example of Abraham. This guy his wife was 90 years old, and he said to her, "Honey, you are so good looking. You are so hot. If they think I married you, they're gonna kill me to get to you. That's how good looking you are." I mean,
was wondering how that was going to
talk about a line. Talk about a line to feed your wife. Oh, yeah, she's 90 years old.
But I think, but I believe that you can speak sensual to your wife and use and even and remember. Because now we're men, right?
Right. It would help to have another voice here.
Because men, women are not a lot of times aroused by what we perceive as sensual.
Right. Dirty talk probably isn't on the top of the list.
Yeah.
I think that they may be more aroused by the romanticism, like the love language that we can speak to her, rather than using what we, get aroused by.
Right.
Right. And so that would be just my recommendation is you got to be careful not to think that, I'm using these sensual words. And she's like, what? Like, what are you trying to do here? Like that, that's not even helping me at all.
Yeah. And on the same note, getting back to the dancing thing, on the same note, it's related because they're talking about sexuality, because that is kind of where the issue with dancing becomes a thing. When it becomes sexual, seductive, open to the world to see you're twerking, right? Like this is a dance. Like this is a thing in our culture is twerking. I mean, I'm not even sure we can qualify it as a dance anymore. It started as a dance, but it's not. And now it's just purely used, I think, to be sexual in nature, right?
Yeah.
So,
years ago they had the lambada.
I don't know what
that didn't last long, but. Like they had the movie Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, the Dirty
Dancing. Yeah. First of all, nobody danced like that back then. That's all such baloney, that movie.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, that's the thing, they're getting that kind of.
So I mean, there's a sensuality to it that does seem appropriate within marriage to an extent. I mean, you could argue if you're not demeaning somebody, but there's another side to it that says, hey, this is actually not really meant for everybody to experience. And sometimes you go out dancing to, you go out to a
club.
I don't find myself at clubs. I think that's tends to be more along the sexual.
A wedding. You go to a wedding or something like that.
Right. You go to a wedding, celebration. People start dancing. Sometimes my father danced with my sister at her wedding, and it was so precious and beautiful, and it was a father, loving his daughter and saying, I'm giving you away, and this is our last dance before you are, completely out of our house. And it was just a beautiful expression of love from a parent, from a father to his daughter. In no way do I see that as inappropriate.
No.
But there's other situations where, maybe even unintentionally, the dancing becomes very sexual. I think when you go to a club, really what you're looking for is we're going to find somebody and hook up. A lot of the times that's exactly what you're going for. And then by nature, you end up experiencing a very sexual environment, a high energy, it's injected with sexual energy, which in general for a Christian in any state, right, married or not, is terribly unhelpful. Because if you're married, there's only one person you're supposed to be expressing that sexual energy toward, and there's a whole room full of people who are also got that aura going on, that to use that Gen Z vibe. They got the sexual energy and they're putting out the feelers for everybody in the room, and so it's pretty unhelpful to a married couple, and it's also unhelpful to a single person who's trying to remain pure. That environment, you think about Herod's, brothers. Is it his niece? Who was it?
The one who danced.
Yeah, she danced for him.
John the Baptist's head.
And it pleased him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was almost certainly sexual in nature, right? Yeah. This was very perverted. This was a thing.
Salome.
Yeah, so she's dancing for him in a sexual way. At least that's the implication, and that was sinful, right? And John had already been confronting him about having his brother's wife.
Yeah.
Right? So this is now saying, this is a good example of how this is the wrong way to use dancing.
In my culture, coming from a Latin American culture, and I also come from a church where dancing was unchristian. It was non-Christian. It was ungodly, whatever. In fact, I couldn't dance with my wife on my wedding.
Wow.
Because being a PK, being a pastor's kid, that would have been seen like wrong, and forbidden. So we couldn't dance on our wedding because of that. But it is also associated with brawls, because ultimately sensuality, especially when your wife is dancing with another guy, or you're dancing and another white guy wants to intervene, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your boyfriend is going and flirting.
Another
and
white guy? No.
Another guy.
Yeah, another guy.
So he creates brawling, fights and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that it's usually associated with is drunkenness as well.
Sure.
Because there's usually alcohol and drugs and abuse of all these
Party
kinds of
culture,
stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, at least in the Latin American culture, the Christian church said no dancing at all, right? Which I don't necessarily see that is also a godly response, because you're just addressing the behavior, and we have mentioned in different episodes is about the heart. Right. And so
creates a new problem. You're addressing a problem by creating a new problem.
And so and it's so interesting how the enemy has twisted what was created for worship, what was created for us to get closer to the Lord, with our bodies, with our singings, with our songs, and like that we spoke about the music, right? And he had twisted it to his own purpose, right? And so that's I think that what we have to be addressing is, why are we dancing?
Right? And what's the venue? Because a lot of, like you said, when you're younger, you go to the clubs, you want to dance because you're looking for a hookup, that kind of thing, or sexual encounter, or whatever. Okay.
One night stand.
Yeah. As opposed to, okay, it's a wedding now, it's a celebration, where it's a little more toned down.
Sure. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
After 10 p.m., then the DJ starts picking up the
after hours. Yeah.
Adults only.
And let me just say this too, just because I think obviously we're men here in this room, and like you said before, it does help to have another voice, another perspective.
Well, I can identify as a woman if you want temporarily.
That's
another podcast.
But I think we can also kind of just be respectful of the fact that maybe there's another angle here, and it makes a good point. And so I want to just say, this is not just about ladies. You have to it's all your fault essentially if you dress and if the way you're dressed is too sexy, if you're dancing with your friends and a man sees you and he lusts after you, well, that's you shouldn't have been dancing. Like this is sometimes the stuff that you hear. I think we need to be careful, because Jesus put the responsibility for purity on men and women, but on the personal side first, right? So he said, you have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So in other words, and I'll speak to the men who are listening, because I think this does tend to happen a lot with men, but it applies to women too. Men, we can choose not to look. Right. Don't blame the ladies for being too attractive or how they're dressed. You can still have self-control. It's a fruit of the Spirit. Have self-control. Don't look. Guard your eyes. Guard your heart. That's I as a man. I am responsible, and I am not to blame anybody else, because you know what? We live in a sinful world. There are going to be encounters where women are not dressed appropriately. And of course, maybe I'm not the guy to go witness to them in that moment. Maybe I need to be more careful. Be okay. It's okay if you say that's not safe for me. Fine, great. Well, have your wife do it. Have another tell them, hey, that person really needs to hear about Jesus. You go. That's fine. But the point is, I'm responsible for my own heart, my own eyes, and I don't blame somebody else. They dressed so. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But we have responsibility to cover ourselves and be righteous before the Lord. Make those righteous decisions to protect our eyes.
Well, wasn't it Job who said, "I will not look on"?
I've made a covenant with my eyes.
So
I won't look upon or even think upon a maid in some translations. Right. So that's true. I mean, we are responsible for that. We can't blame ladies for, they just dress too bad. Get over it. We actually have to walk with Jesus, regardless of what people around us do. But at the same time, and I'll say this to the ladies, because generally a man doesn't show up, in a Speedo and everybody says, "Ooh." No, that's not, the male form is not terribly the issue usually. Usually ladies are like, okay, whatever. You never know. I mean, I'm not faulting any lady who feels that attraction physically to the male form, but in general, this leans a little bit more towards the ladies. There is a way to dress and a way to behave and a way to dance that is intended to be noticed sexually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And our culture loves to talk about how that's a great idea. It's not. It's really not. I mean, and there is a side of this. It's totally on the man to say he's responsible for his eyes, his lust, his heart, his reaction to this. But are you trying to provoke a sexual response? Mm-hmm. And if you are, why? Where's your heart? Right? So I say this to ladies because how you dress does matter. First of all, because it shows self-worth. If you don't value your body as precious and reserved for the man who you're supposed to be with in covenant, in marriage, why would anybody else who's looking at you, gawking at your exposed body, feel that that's reserved for anybody else, for that one man? It's not. You're not reserving it. They're not going to look at it as respected and reserved. Well, so you're sending a signal about your own sense of self-worth. You're sending a signal to the world about, you're kind of inviting everybody to look at you that way. And what kind of character does the man who does that have, right? Like in many ways, you're kind of putting out a signal of like availability and openness to the kind of person who wants to look at naked ladies and less clothed ladies. I mean, that's not the kind of person you want to attract anyway. So I say all that in love, and I say all that not to shame, not to say it's your fault if a man lusted after you. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. They are fully responsible. Yeah. But at the same time, why are you dressing that way? Mm-hmm. Where is your heart? There is a way to dress that's seductive and to provoke a sexual response. And that's also something to be very cautious and aware of, especially for anybody, married or single.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, that has been a great episode about music and dancing. So thank you, everybody, for just keep listening to us. And I hope that you don't get bored of our voices. Well, that's the reason why we brought Don today.
Yeah, that's right.
Have
more guests.
So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. God bless.
Thank you for joining us at the Truth Cafe today. We pray that the truth of God's Word has blessed and enriched your life. Subscribe for the latest episodes. Follow us on social media to stay connected, and download our SR Church app to submit your questions. Until next time, have a great week.